Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? I'm so excited to be here. My name is Laura Armstrong. I am from Leadership with Laura, and I am a leadership accelerator, communication expert. I'm here every Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern, weekly to do education training with you, have some fun, and kind of just give you tips on leadership and communication, which are huge subjects in not just our business, but our lives. And today we're going to talk about networking. What's your outcome? Because I think this has become the new norm, whether it's in person or virtually. It's been more virtual the last couple of years. So we're going to get into how to do it effectively, how to make sure you're not wasting your time with the people you're networking with, and how to use it as not just a lead generation and a way to build business, but also a way to create trusted partner relationships. And that's what you're looking for. So before I get into this, I just want to let you guys know, please reach out to me on Clubhouse. I've got a room there called the Leadership Warriors Room. We're there weekly, sometimes nightly. Just make sure you join the room and you'll see when all the rooms that we have come up. I talk about all things leadership and communication there, really some insightful subjects with some great thought leaders. So make sure that you join us on Clubhouse and you check it out. So back to today's topic, which is going to be networking. What's your outcome? So first of all, there are a couple of things I want to talk about before we even get to the networking part of it. So for me, I was always, believe it or not, an introvert when I was younger. I was outgoing when I needed to be. So people mistakenly thought that I was an extrovert. So for instance, I would go teach a martial arts class. I am a 3-time world champion martial artist. I still teach, I still train. I go teach a class of like 100 people, and then I would need to go back to my room and stare at the wall for 20 minutes just to kind of be by myself. So I love being around people, but I needed the break from them too. Like I knew what my boundaries were around that. So I want to talk a minute about that. So what are your boundaries around your networking? Do you just, go to all the groups you can go to? Because, I mean, you could literally spend 90% of your day doing networking in different groups and talking to people, okay? But, sorry. Where I want to get you today is I want to get you to a place where you're going to a few groups that are impactful for you and that are moving you forward in your business and how you and your referral partners, right? Because that's really what it's about. Business is not done in a one and done anymore. And the sooner that we can embrace that, the sooner you're going to be able to expand your business. So it's all about you creating an emotional connection with people. And I'm not talking about telling your deepest, darkest secrets. I'm just actually telling you about spending more time with people, right? Now, this may not be something that's in your comfort zone, but if you want to get good at networking, it's something you got to do, right? So first, I would think about all the networking groups, and I'll give you my own example. I was, a couple of years ago when all the changes started in the world, I was networking probably in 20 different groups. That's a lot, right? And what I realized is I got burnt out on Zoom so much because I wasn't seeing anybody in person that I really had to decide what groups I wanted to be a part of, right? So what I did is I looked at, okay, what does this group mean to me, first of all? So is it more social? Is it business? Is it a combination of both? Or is it just like a recreational one, right? So right away, I kept a couple of the social ones, but it was more on a personal level, right? So I didn't need those for business during the day, and I would meet with them in the evening if I had time. So that was something I wasn't going to hold myself to, because at the end of the day, when we're looking at our screen so much, you got to choose who you want to speak to and how long, right? So that's the first thing. So I need you to figure out which groups are serving you in which capacity. And right now, over a month, I probably go to 5 networking events, 5, maybe 6, from, 5 or 6 a week down to 5 or 6 a month. Okay, so that's the first thing. So figure out what groups are serving you and who aren't. Get rid of them. and who you want to do business with. And be in groups. It's okay to have regular groups, but be in a group where you're going to meet new people, right? And if you're in a regular group all the time, you don't need to go every time because you're seeing the same people over and over again. Take a couple weeks off, come back, right? So you really want to be expanding your network. It's great to develop relationships with those people in that group, but if you're not getting any benefit week after week, then just make sure you skip over a couple of weeks and then go back, right? And they'll catch you up on anything you missed because you're part of the group, right? And meanwhile, you can put your energy maybe into another group or, into something else you're doing. So you want to really be smart about your time with that. Okay, so that's my first thing. So now when you're qualifying your groups, I want you to ask, and what you want to go into, I want you to ask 3 questions. So the first question is, if I go into this networking group, what is my outcome here? Okay. Is your outcome to get contacts, get business, bring a connection to the next level where you're taking it offline? Because the ultimate outcome for everything should be to take it offline and have a conversation, right? But when you're in the group, if it's just to find out, who the people are in the group, how you can serve them. So ask yourself these 3 questions. So what's my outcome? Is the first one. The second one is this contributing to me? Because if it's not, you're wasting your time. Don't waste your time. Use it somewhere more effectively. So don't go to that group. Okay. And the third is this contributing to others? So maybe you go into a networking group in a servant capacity where what you offer is going to help everybody or a large portion of the group, right? So you have to consider weighing, is that the outcome I'm looking for? So I just want you to get really smart about how you do your networking, because sometimes we can get stuck in the habit of just going to go, but B, into the hope of, well, someday it's going to pay off, right? Well, no. I was a member of this group for a couple of years, and we were meeting in person. I got almost no business out of this group, and I still kept paying and showing up every week. I was paying to go to this group, right? And I thought, why am I paying to go here? I'm not getting any business, though I love seeing the people. I can meet with them offline if some of the people that I liked, if I wanted to. I ended up doing business with a few of the people, but I never got any business, which I was fine with. And I still have relationships to those people, but I didn't need to be in that group to get those relationships, right? We took it offline. So be thinking about what's serving you, what you're wasting your money on if you're paying for something, and your time, which is just as valuable as your money, excuse me, if not more so, right? So be thinking about that. Okay, so those are the 3 things you want to be asking. That's where we're going to start. What's my outcome here? Is this contributing to me? And is it contributing to others? Now, when you're thinking about what kind of groups you want to network for, think about where your aim is. So first of all, if you're selling coaching, you're not going to go into a group with 500 other coaches. Like, that just doesn't make sense, right? So think about, different networking groups that you want to go into. Maybe it's small business. Maybe it's, entrepreneurs who want to make millions of bucks. Maybe it's a niche group like people who write books, and they can't get motivated, right? And so that's one of the things blocking them. So you want to go into something where you're going to be of service, right? So there's, a lot of networking groups that bring in, like BNI and stuff like that, where they bring in one person per category. Those are great, but, I've been in those too. And, at the time what I was doing, I also never got any business. It was great to meet those people, but I didn't get any business from it. So I left that group, right? So it wasn't a good fit for me. So what I'm saying is you got to know when something's a good fit for you and when it's not. And it's always great to invite people in and also be invited to other groups. So the other part of the networking that I want you to think about is a lot of networking groups have weekly speakers, right? And speaking is a great way to get visibility. It's a great way to engage with people you normally wouldn't. It's also a great way for you to get out of your comfort zone, right? And so that's the next part I want to talk about after we talk about the speaking. It's all about being visible. And I touched on this before when we're talking about doing podcasts. So So when you, so have some, what you want to do is create some topics of interest that you could talk about that are relevant to the group, and book some time with the leader of the group. Or, you know, sometimes they have applications. You can do it. It just depends how they run their group. So for instance, one group, I booked some time with the person who runs the group. We had a conversation, and, you know, I said to her, I'm like, well, what would serve your members the best, right? Like, how would it help? And she's like, well, I want you to talk about leadership. I feel like some of them don't have enough focus in their business. I was like, okay, great. I can definitely talk about that. Right. So then we had a good conversation. I came in, I ended up joining the group because the people were so great and the contacts were great. And there was a lot of collaboration. Right. So be willing to be visible when you're networking. It's hard, and sometimes it can be uncomfortable. And a lot of the time you don't feel like going, right? Because you're just busy, or you're tired, or you're just not into it, right? So get into that thinking, what's my outcome here? Is it going to contribute to me? Is it going to contribute to them? Do I want to go? Go with your gut, because your gut will never let you down. If you don't tap into your gut, just think about this. What is my deliverable here? Is it going to serve what I'm doing? Right? Again, you're going back to what's my outcome, right? So really have an answer about that before you decide if you're going to go, right? And being visible is a big part of that. So sometimes that can be really uncomfortable, right? And that means you have to put yourself out there. A lot of the time, what I'll do when we go into a group is I'll just listen, right? I'll just listen. Everybody comes out, they do the 30-second. I have my 30-second ready. And I'm listening to what everybody's saying. I'm listening to the conversation. And when they put you, sometimes they put you in breakout rooms, I'll be the last one to speak because I want to hear what everybody else has to say. And I'm also listening to their personality codes so that I make sure that I'm responding in a proper manner, right? And always when I'm working with people in a room like that, I'm always thinking, who can I connect them with? Who can I connect them with? Right? So I want to tap into my huge network to see who I can help them with if it's not for me, right? So that's something to think about too, is like you could be a great connector, and you don't have to be outgoing. You don't have to be an extrovert. You know, it could just be something as simple. This is what I do. You know what? I heard you talking, and I think I have someone, you know, who'd be great for you to connect with, right? Because really our world today is all about connections, who you know, how many people you know, and the quality of those connections, right? It's not about the one and done anymore. Okay. So that's kind of the other thing I wanted to talk about when you're thinking about your networking. Now, when you go and network, right, what do you offer? When you do your 30-second and then, you know, that's done and you're networking and you get into the conversation, what do you talk about? So the one thing that's actually going to get you a lot of engagement is to get people asking people key questions and finding out what their pain points are. So for instance, let's say I'm at a networking event, I come up and I talk to some lady, I'm like, tell me a little bit more about you and what you do. So I'm like, you know, I want to keep the conversation going because I'm listening to what she's saying. I'm listening to her values so that I can communicate more effectively with her. And so I'll just say, you know, that was really interesting you said that. Can you tell me more about that? And then I'll let them talk some more. People love to talk, right? So this isn't going to be a stretch for you guys, right? And even after that, and I'll just say, yeah, I heard you said that. And can you know, why did you say that? Like, can you tell me a little bit more about that? And they're going to tell you more, right? So, you know, at this point, they've probably been talking for like 5 minutes. That's a lot of talking, right? And so now you have a pretty good idea about this person. And they're, of course, going to say, well, what do you do? And you know, just keep it very brief because it's not about you. It's about them. I said, you know, so this is what I do. And it was really interesting that you said that about how you're struggling with that, because I had the same thing. But, you know, when I did this, I was able to, you know, get myself out of it. Right. So that might be something you're interested in having a conversation about. Right. They may say no. Most of the time they say yes, because they're looking for a solution to their problem. You are the solution to somebody's problem. And, you know, networking is a big part of that, because unless you show up, nobody knows you're there. And honestly, that's the deepest truth I can give you any time of the day. Right. So, and, you know, unless you show up, nobody's going to know you're there. Right. And so just be really real about it. Now, when you're networking, you want to be thinking about if your business is global or is it local, right? So if it's global, it's not going to make sense for you to get into a global group. For instance, a lot of people who come into one of the groups, they're local and they're holistic therapists or they're a spa. So it doesn't make sense for them to network outside of their area. So it can be kind of restricted, but for them, it's a little bit different because they do some networking, but a lot of their business is from referrals. That's where you guys want to be, whether it's global or local. You want to be working on so many referrals that you don't have time for all the business. That's where you want to be for networking. Okay. What else can I say about networking? I've really expanded in not just my network, but who I am as a person by getting into that mentality of creating those trusted partner relationships. What does that mean? So it's more than a hi, how are you? It's like, how can I serve you? That's the difference in the question, right? And you don't have to necessarily say those words, but if you're going out there and you're just putting it out there for people all the time, I'm telling you, it's coming back to you 100-fold, right? It's just the way the universe works. Okay. So when you're thinking about networking, there's so many aspects there. Now, how to, I want to give you some tips on how to shut down people who are non-listeners, right? So, or people who just don't get the message you're sending. So some people are not trained properly. They haven't had proper communication training, proper leadership training. They just go in and they kind of like vomit themselves and their business all over you, right? Not literally, but figuratively when they're speaking. And they just keep talking, right? And there's no space for you and they don't care because they need to get out their spiel. That's what they've been taught, right? And so a lot of the time, how can you disengage from that kind of conversation, right? So a lot of the time, I'll just let them talk for a while. I'll put up my hand and I'll just say, you gave me a lot of information about yourself, but why are you really here today? Right? And I'm telling you, that is like the magic wand, right? Because then it makes them think. Now they have to think and not just do their, right? So they're like, well, I wanted to let people know about what I do. I'm like, okay, so that's good. I want to know about what you do. You just spoke about that. But why are you here today? Are you looking to get business? Are you looking for referrals? Yes. I'm like, okay, so which one? Well, both. I'm like, okay, so would you be interested in referring me to anybody that you may know? Now, this is where the key comes in. You could see their brain working, right? They're like, oh, I don't care about that. I'm just here to get business, right? And I'm not saying that this is the wrong approach for you or anybody that you know that does this. It's just because they're so absorbed in what they're doing, it's all about them. If you want to be an exceptional networker, it's never about you. It's about the people that you interact with. You're just a conduit for information, right? So get that mindset around not being in your own head and really try to take your ego out and put it in a little box on your shoulder for the event so that you can look at things from a wider view, that you can connect with people from a point of understanding them and looking at what they need instead of it being all about what you can tell them they need, right? A lot of the time, that's where the message gets lost. And I was talking to a client of mine, a would-be client, hopefully, and a couple of days ago, and she was telling us about her needs, and I'm like, so this is what I'm hearing from you. You're telling me you need this, this, and this, and she's like nodding her head because I listened to her code and I understood, right? And she goes, that's exactly it. I said, okay, so now I understand, right? And so, anyways, it's just really important for us to keep in mind that if we really want to make connections and be top level networkers, you got to really make it about other people, right? Now, when you're figuring out which kind of networking groups, and I kind of talked about this briefly, I've been in some really small ones. I've been in some really big ones. And I've been in some big ones with moderators in rooms who have been less than emotionally intelligent and are quite rude. So that's some, even though the group was great, I would never go back there because I don't need that. And B, it seems like they're not training their people properly, right? And also, I just felt a little overwhelmed in such a big group. How many people am I really going to be able to connect with in that amount of time? Because there's so many people. So, I'm just going to start to wrap up about networking. But what I want to say to you guys about networking is it needs to be an essential part of your business. Now, one thing that I've started doing, because I was networking so much, I would have so many contacts that I had to follow up with. Okay. And this is the key part of the conversation here. I would just get overwhelmed and I'd start mixing up messages. So what I recommend is you attend an event, you follow up with the leads that you have and the people you connected with, see where it's going to go. Don't attend another event until you do that. So you don't get people mixed up, right? Because it can be a little bit overwhelming. And my question to you is, how are you following up? Right? So what I recommend is you book some time together. Usually most people have calendars these days. Book a 30-minute with them and just say, you know what, it was a great event, but I'm actually glad we got to sit one-on-one. I can find out a little bit more about you and what you do and, what's going on with you. Like, how have you been the last couple of years? Like, how's it been? What's changed, right? And get into a deeper conversation. So the key to networking is it's not going to change anything in your business, even if you connect with people, unless you follow up with them. Okay. And follow up isn't something magical that happens. Follow up is something that you make happen, right? I remember I was working in this MLM company and I was training my team and their biggest thing is they just didn't want to get on the phone and follow up, with the person who did the order. And I'm like, why not? Right. And I understood this because I had a bit of anxiety about it. They're like, well, they might actually pick up the phone. Right? I started laughing and I'm like, and then what? And they're like, I don't know what to say to them. So they didn't feel confident in how to follow up, even if it was just to check in with them and say, hey, did you get your products? What do you think? Do you have any questions? I'm here for you. Because most people are trained that, and I still do this sometimes, I catch myself, that somebody wants something from them. And honestly, I'm so busy right now. I just like the duct cleaner guy. Does anybody get that guy calling you like 2-3 times a week? Yeah. Like, where is that coming from? Anyways, what I want to tell you is make sure that you've got, let's just summarize what's going on here. So that you've got good outcomes. Okay. You know what your outcome is. Is it serving you? Is it serving other people? Okay. That you're spending your time wisely in your networking, okay, and that you're following up with the leads that you've gotten in contact with, okay. And a lot of the time, that person may not be for me, but I have someone in my network that I can connect them up to. Okay, this is how you're going to become proficient at networking. Make sure that you finish with that set of contacts that you've got before you go on to the next one. That way you'll be able to keep everybody straight and make sure sometimes it doesn't go anywhere. Sometimes it's just someone in your back pocket you pull out later. Like that's happened to me a lot of times. But sometimes it moves forward. Like I'm doing 5 collaborations into corporate right now. So I've got plus my other stuff. So I've got a lot on my plate and I'm always looking to work with people because I feel like sometimes working alone can be overwhelming and you feel like you're not going anywhere. And when you partner with people, for me, it's just easier to bounce ideas off each other and create something that's really going to move things forward. All right. So make sure you've got that follow-up going on in your networking. All right. So that's it for today. Next week, we're going to talk about being more visible, the top 3 things that you can do to be more visible. Okay. And that just means in your business, in your life, in yourself, right? That was pretty wisdom there. Let me write down in your biz, life, self. Okay. So we're going to cover that next week. And I think that when we talk about that, you're going to get some keys on how to kind of step out of your comfort zone and into the greatness that you are and the success and leadership that you're looking for. So that's it for me today. Just another plug for my Leadership Warriors Clubhouse room. Come and join us in the room. We're going to be having rooms on leadership and communication. Very impactful, very interesting conversation. Lots of training you're going to get for free. So come out and join us. Make sure that you follow me on Clubhouse. I'm happy to follow you back. You can reach me at leadershipwithlaura.com. And check me out there, or you can reach me at laura@leadershipwithlaura.com. And guess what? I've got a free gift for you guys now. I've got my 3-day leadership course that's up. It's at leadershipwithlaura.com/3, the number 3, the word day, LC. So you go there, you sign up for the 3-day leadership. You're going to have some great training for 3 days. Going to talk about where you would be if you were the world champion of your business, what might be getting in your way, recognizing those roadblocks, and where you are now. So now you know the clear path to success and how to get past what's holding you back. So I'd love to hear from you. Please make sure you reach out to me. I will see you all next week. We're going to talk about how to be more visible. Have a great day, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been shown that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. We'll match you with the perfect buddy. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
We're offering you a free membership, so please sign up today. Share this with your friends and family, and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
Hello and welcome to the Diamond Spotlight interview. I am Barbara Beckley, the founder of the Diamond Factor LLC, where the mission is to empower women to understand their PPD, their purpose, passion, and drive. And the platform is to make sure to increase their visibility and have them shine like a diamond to the world. Today, we are spotlighting another, and I call all the ladies that I interview Queen Diamonds. And we have another Queen Diamond here today, Rhonda Marie Farah, M.A., DRWA, is a visionary and inspirational leader who has spent years applying the power and impact of the mind and spirit as crucial in creating personal and professional success. That life we desire rather than merely living a life of default. Rhonda's success philosophy is simple, identified, and live your deepest passion while striving for balance in all areas of your life. Welcome, Rhonda, today. How are you doing?
Doing very well, Barbara. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show. So wonderful to meet you as well as your listeners.
Yes, and I'm loving the background. We were saying earlier in the virtual back room, and the purple, that's my favorite color, as you can see. So
Oh yeah,
we're both really connecting.
and we're obviously aligned. Okay, good.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I know people used to tell me that purple represents royalty. So you are, and I'm already calling you queen. See how that aligns? So that's wonderful. So first, you are truly wonderful. You are an author, a speaker, a lifestyle empowerment coach, and the list goes on, lady. So, just so much amazing experience that you have. Can you please share with us what inspired you, in the aspects of all this in your life?
All right, I will. Several things inspired me. I grew up on the East Coast in a very traditional, what we would call a traditional home, with a stay-at-home mom and a dad who prefer mom stay at home. I'm the oldest of three brothers and one sister, and I think that contributed to the nurturing impact in my life, and that I wanted to be a nurturer. As well as a mom, I am a mother, I am a grandmother. And I also grew up through the third grade in what we would call an extended family. Okay, so I had grandmother, grandfather, aunts, great aunts, and my parents and my brothers and sisters. So there was all this nurturing going on, lots of hands involved in all that nurturing and otherwise. So and largely too, it was a household of women.
Mm,
And I think that I know that that was a major contribution for me to be in service to others.
mm,
I began as actually a psychotherapist. My background is educational psychology and counseling. So I did that and had a very thriving practice in Connecticut, and then began to become really debilitated, really, with taking responsibility for clients. Um, and I decided one day, an aha moment, that I just needed to be in service to others who wish to be in service to themselves. Those that wish to be as
mm,
healthy and as vibrant, as energetic, as purposeful
mm,
that they
mm,
can be. In other words, it was their choice, not mine. So that it long story short, I became a lifestyle empowerment uh, alchemist, I call myself, coach, and I began speaking, and I do a tremendous amount of writing and have been a contributing author and otherwise to other publications. And an
mm,
alchemist, because many people say, well, what's that? And an alchemist is really a scientific term, which I am not a scientist by any means. But I call it a recipe. An
mm,
alchemist will mix the good stuff, the joys, as well as the not so good, the sorrow
mm,
that we all have in
mm,
life, and that they contribute to our essence. And it's not only the joys, but the sorrows, and maybe especially the sorrows, that not so good stuff that
mm,
makes us who we are and empowers us. So, my spiel, if you'd like, is that I help others live the life that they desire, the life that they want, versus settling for less year after year and simply living life in default mode. And these are challenging times for everyone. And I am asked, how in the world do I live an empowered life when the world is in this uncertain, this chaotic, this downright scary and fearful time? But there is a way to do that.
mm. Awesome. Yeah, Ron, I was just thinking about it. It's funny you mentioned that because, with the whole COVID and the economy, and then just, I mean, it's just the list goes on. But to have you, and I mean, I can see you as a really, really wonderful force for this, an asset to people, regarding empowering coach, to help them and remind them and to show them ways, to get through it and say, what, this whole thing, you still can empower and come out even better than maybe you were before. I mean, I've been noticing that with myself as I'm getting more creative, and I never really was a creative person. I always tell people I always have other people that I know creative to help me with marketing and stuff. And now all of a sudden I just like, okay, aha moment, Barbie, you got that chance, do it. So I love what you're doing in people's lives, moving them forward, even though things are going on, kind of crazy around our world. So now I was going to ask you, Ronnie, can you explain like the benefits that a person can obtain at a wellness empowerment coach?
Well, the biggest thing is to realize that it is those not so good times. Some people say negative, toxic, unhealthy, which we are in, that actually are a gift and a blessing. And believe me, people raise their eyebrows. They think I'm absolutely nuts. What is she talking about? That this could possibly be a gift or a blessing. And if we look at it, we've all been through things in our life that were very challenging. They were struggles. They were painful. They saddened us as well as our families and those that we love. But we came through it, whether it would be economic crap, excuse the expression, but that's what it was, divorce, illness, other forms of just that not so good stuff when things don't go right. And when things don't go right, sometimes they just don't go right all at once. But there is a gift and there is a blessing. This time is a chance for us to pause. Whether we like it or not, we need to pause. The reset button can be pressed if we choose to press it. And again, you said things that you've noticed in your life. I've noticed things in my life too. I am going within even more than I've ever gone within. I am being challenged to do that. And it's good. It can be scary as well with respect to really setting priorities, whether it be the business, relationships, what coast I'm on at any given point in time. This is prioritizing for me. And I think it's prioritizing for many, many people. And that can be a scary thing because that invites change. And sometimes we get real comfortable with the uncomfortable, with the struggle and the challenge. And it's actually more uncomfortable to make the change, even though the change is for our benefit. However, with the lifestyle empowerment mixture that I call it, with coaching, I believe it boils down to three things: to get clear, get perspective, and get support. So to get clear on what it is that you want. Many people don't know what they want. This time is forcing people to say, what do I want? What do I want? Things are really changing. This is an opportunity. Okay, it might not be the easiest road to take, but what do I want? So be specific and be clear. And I always say, this is what I want, my highest and best good, whatever that is at any given time, or something better. So don't limit yourself either to put yourself in that box. Well, you know, whether it's financial, whether it's the relationship, whether it's, again, your whole lifestyle that you've been living. So don't put yourself in a box, but be as specific as you can be. And don't go around, I invite you not to go around saying, I don't know what I want. Because all you will get when you say that is more of what you don't know you want. So
You're so right.
Going down the rabbit hole we don't want to go down. Second is to get perspective. Okay, so when we are, especially in these times, but really any times where we are finding that we are challenged in one way or another, what's the perspective? Well, problems are as big as we make them. That's our perspective. Problems, challenges, struggles, chaos, the uncertainty. Some people are going through this time of an unprecedented time. They're going through it more smoothly than others. And I credit that they go within and their perspective says, okay, this is not what I wanted. This is 2020, supposed to be I call it the year of perfect vision. It is, because it's a year of clarity. We are getting perfected with respect to what is it that we want. If we open and we go within and we realize, okay, these are messages. These are messages for me. And it's challenging for people that never went within before. It's like, well, what does that mean? Go within, Listen to your heart space. Okay. Listen to your heart space. I call it the soul. All right. And what is this doing for the agenda of my soul? Because this time is doing something for the agenda of our soul, if we understand truly that it is. So to get perspective means first to go within, and then to say, okay, do you have a trusted friend? All right. Do you have, go within? So hit up your soul for some answers, for some clarity. I was raised Judeo-Christian. I call it God, universe, divine, spirit, source. It's all the same. So it's all the one thing, the higher presence. That's the going within. That's my biggest trusted friend. Okay. But we also have trusted friends that we confide certain things in. And that's okay. Go there. Don't go there in misery and commensurating all the misery and the uncertainty and the chaos. Go there with an open heart and an open mind, so that you are airing what is on your mind, what is in your heart, what your soul is speaking. And I'm going to stop right there and just clarify one thing. Some people tell what is going on with them to everyone. And especially when something is good. Hey, I just had this realization. This isn't such a bad time after all. I'm able to pivot. I'm able to move forward in my business, in my relationship, with respect to what I want to do with my children and otherwise. And all of a sudden, that person you're speaking to kind of rains on your parade. How can you ever think that? How can you ever say that? So my invitation as well is to get perspective from within and someone you trust, but also to be very, very reticent and cognizant about who you're speaking to, and that your parade might get rained on. So be cautious. And finally, get support. Okay. Get support from a professional. If you choose to get support from a professional, that is my offering to others. I offer a free session to see, okay, well, what brought you here? What brought you here? What do you want to discover? And then go from there. But definitely get clear, get perspective, and get support. That's what lifestyle empowerment is about. It's not about waiting for the proverbial lightning bolt to come from the proverbial sky and hit you in your proverbial rear end. It isn't going to happen. Make divine right choices. Take divine right inspired action. You must act. Okay? And move forward to the fullest life that you can ever imagine. I'm an advocate of prayer. I have a daily spiritual practice. But I know if I pray, we have a do prayer treatment, but I don't move my feet. In the practitioner circle, we say affirmative prayer, pray, and then move your feet. Treat, and then move your feet. Because you must do something. You must take inspired action in order to not only live the life that you desire, but to weather the storms that we all have. If it's, there seems to be pandemic right now and everything associated with it. But storms are part of life.
Yes. Oh my God, Ron, so much to peel here. First of all, thank you for going through the steps about clarity, perspective and support. I think, you taking that on and explaining that in more detail was so fabulous for the listeners. They needed to really hear that, especially what's going on right now. And the other thing that you said a few minutes ago, which is really important, is you mentioned, people, if they take, we're pausing right now, but we have to, in our minds, make a decision to push that button to move forward in what we want to do. So it all goes down to what decisions we're going to make to say, okay, I can take this and go this road and be like having a pity party or whatever and be like, oh, well, what was me? Or I could take the other road, like you said, and look at my inner, go inside of me and really dig deep and see some things that I need to, get, like you said, the clarity and the perspective and support. And a lot of times this is what I'm loving about this. Like you said, I know it's the pandemic, but in a sense, like you said, it is pausing us. It is giving us that, okay, reset, that reset in a lot of areas. And then people are finding out about themselves even more than what they even knew before. And that's just an amazing thing. I've been seeing a lot of that happening with a lot of women that I talk to, and I know you've probably seen it too. Now, the biggest thing that, just going into what you said, and I've seen this on your website, is some of the items that you identify, when you're doing the empowerment coaching. And one of them was, and I think this hits everybody, end procrastination and start celebrating life. Now, we all know that, Rhonda, that could be a challenge for a lot of people. What advice would you give? What is one aspect of that to kind of turn that procrastination in a different direction?
Well, here's the thing, and you're right. Out of fear of change, fear of moving our feet, and what is inspired action, and what is that all about? We just stop. Okay, it's like, imagine, and I as well am not a technical person, so these are challenging times for me, but it's forcing me to get more into the digital age. Very different talking on camera rather than in front of live audiences, having clients and groups on camera on this thing called Zoom and other things that we got going on. Okay, but that's okay. I accepted that challenge and am very grateful that I did, because you know what? It wasn't that bad. And actually, it's simplifying my life in many directions, on many dimensions. So uncertainty is really, really what stops us and makes us procrastinate. Uncertainty, fear and doubt in here produces a thought, which produces our external world. So one thing I might suggest, that's an easy thing, and listeners may want to write it down, is to say this little mantra that I say every day, especially since the pandemic came. I say, I embrace my uncertainty. I embrace it, my uncertainty. And it's like to love it. The more love you spew out, the more love you give, the more you get in return. You may not get love where you think you're gonna get it because you're giving it like to someone. I do a lot of relationship work as well, but I always assure the person that's giving the love, and I'm not saying to be used as a doormat, but to act compassionately and love yourself as well as others. Love comes to you. You may not think it's going to come exactly where you thought it was going to come from, but it's coming. So embrace the uncertainty, send out love to it. That is my number one easy peasy thing. Embrace the uncertainty. If you continue to resist uncertainty, or for that matter, anything else in your life, what we resist persists. You're going to get more of it. Okay. What we resist persists. Okay. Let it come to you, because you will, from your highest and mightiest place, understand that it came to you for a reason. One other thing that people just can't wrap their head around is, I know, and it's been scientifically proved, and I believe it. I see it in my own life. We call everything forward to us, whatever it is. Okay, the good and the not so good. We call it forward. We may not know why. That's called the subconscious mind that calls it forward. And we call it forward because we have lessons to learn. Okay, some people call it other things like that. We have lessons to learn. The good part about this is that whatever we call forward, we get to decide what we're going to do with it. This, there, in the history of the world, in every universe, nothing has happened on this level, this pandemic and what we are going through. This is globally. It is taking no prisoners. Everyone's affected. That's it. Taking no prisoners, yet everyone is a prisoner to it. We're all the same. And this is what this is about. We go through life thinking maybe that we're better than someone else, Maybe that we know more than someone else. We're all students and we're all teachers. That's it. My clients teach me. My audiences teach me. Okay, your listeners are teaching me. I'm getting an energy from this. And that is why I'm so passionate about what I do, because we can learn from each other. Stop stressing what separates us. Stress what connects us. It is only our collective consciousness, all of us together, that is number one, going to get us through this pandemic, make us better individuals, better, we'll have better families, better communities, which will make for a better planet. So that's what this is about. Hey, wait a minute. We're in a major timeout here. We're all in a major timeout. It's affecting some more than others. Okay. Some have liked the distractions. I can go here, I can go there. Well, now you can't go here and you can't go there. There's nothing to distract you. Okay, so what do I do? Well, go within. Go within. Be. It's time. This is a time for being. Capital BE. By being and being still, that will indicate what our next steps are. What are we to do? Where are we to go? What is our purpose? What do we say and to whom? So it's important to be with it. I have clients that say, "Oh, if I'm just positive, I got to maintain, stay positive, stay positive." Worst thing you can do. Worst thing you can do. I'm a positive, optimistic person. However, if you continue to shove down all those feelings, whether they be anger, sadness, disappointment, eventually there will be an overflow. Okay, something will trigger it. Everything you've been shoving down and being positive, positive, positive. Feel the feeling. There's nothing wrong with feeling sad. Feel sad. I get sad. But in order to release it, don't resist it. Okay, I don't go around with my head hung and, as you say, have a pity party. But I realize when I'm sad, I realize when I'm tense, and I realize when I'm in joy. So there's no one size fits all here. I've given you some tips, some suggestions, some invitations, but really it's not one size fits all. And that is the biggest thing we have going for us, our unique strengths, our unique skills, abilities, and talents, to understand them, to wake up, to be awakened to our authentic power from within, so we can get it together within here and offer it to the world.
Oh, Rhonda, I could just listen to you all day. You are just so inspirational and just give me some wonderful tips to to myself and the listeners. It's just so. And I love what you said. And you, like I said, you're teaching me so much right now. Because I'm always want to be a positive. I'm always thinking positive. Like, I'm listening to positive things. I listen to different speakers. I speak on, all that kind of stuff. But then you hit it right on target when you said, but you have to embrace when you're feeling not so happy, or you feel down, or you want to cry, you want to scream, because you have to let it out. Because if, like you said, if you keep pounding it down, or when it does come out, it's not going to be a good, and this happened to me, it's not going to be a good thing, because now all that stuff was bottled up because you just kept saying, I stay positive. I got to stay. It's like this ritual in your head. You just keep repeating, I got to stay positive. I got to stay positive. And then, but you're fighting and you feel horrible at the time, but you're still like, I got to stay positive. And I get it, but you got to let it out. You got to let it out. So I feel like so you can bring in more of that, to help others. Because we're not robots, we're not robots.
We must release what is not serving us. Release what is not serving you. And sometimes it's people, situations, circumstances, and events. I have what I call the elevator. And I use this with and I use it with audiences. So everybody has an elevator, and it goes up and it goes down, and in between floors and otherwise, we accumulate people, situations, circumstances, and events for reasons and for seasons. Okay, some seasons are longer than others. But there's a time when all of that is not serving us. So you get to, it's your elevator, open the door and say, this is your stop. Thanks for stopping by. I learned a lot from you. Sometimes they don't want to go. Sometimes you have to give them a little shove, off the elevator, and it's our choice to make. And I am not by any means saying to get rid of the people in your life, okay? Because we're all here to learn from each other. But certain behaviors that we experience with others that are not acceptable to us, it's time for at least the behaviors to get off the elevator. And that's sometimes that means the person, the situation, the circumstance, or the event needs to get off on a different floor and think about things and feel things and then say, oh, I think I'm going to push the button now. I think I'm ready to get back on. And then you get to choose whether you think you want it or them back on. So these again are choices. These are changes. These are sometimes not so easy things that when we settle and settle and settle year and year and year after year, we cause ourselves to be debilitated and we're living in default mode. Okay. And even if you're living in default mode now, that reset button, it's just like on the computer. It's called restart, reboot. And it could, boy, when that computer comes back up, it's like, whoa, I didn't even realize this had this capacity. Okay. So it's the same thing going on here. Same thing.
Wow, Rhonda. Well, I mean, because I know there's just so much, I'm gonna have to bring you back. I don't know how to bring you back on. you're just full of information that's needed for everybody to hear. But I don't want to pass up the chance because you're also an author, okay? And you wrote many books and ebooks. Now, one that I particularly noticed, and I was, looking at your bio and everything, is the part on your journey. Don't be afraid. Can you just share just a little backstory regarding that book and what you wanted the readers to take away? Because I always ask the authors, what is like the one thing maybe that you would love for the readers to take away from the book that you
wrote? Okay, that book, The Journey, is an ebook. It's a small book. It's not in print, but it is an ebook. If it was in print, it would be called a mini book. So it's about 14 or 15, 8.5 by 11 pages. It's an easy read. Lots of graphics. And what the message there is that we are all on a journey and not just one journey. Okay, we come to the forks in the road. And it's a way to understand that whatever journey we're on, it's the right journey. And do not be afraid. Okay. And I've been on a journey since I was in the womb. We all have. That's our journey. Okay. Come out, live in an extended family, close to my grandparents, God rest their soul. And they helped me on my journey. All those people in that extended family helped me realize who I am, helped me. And believe me, it wasn't all roses all the time with 13 people in the same household. Okay. There were many, many women in the kitchen at the same time. And, use that expression. But that was a journey necessary since I was small. And there is a picture in there of when I'm about 18 months old with both my grandparents holding me. It's a photo. It's in the front. And that's how the journey begins. And this is what I say. People in your life for reasons and seasons. Okay. Not just our blood, but our blood too. Our blood relatives are in our life for reasons and for seasons to learn from those past generations and to move forward. So the journey is it's a capsulized, it's bite size. So, there's not all this reading and there's not all this psychological terminology. It's very oriented to a regular person to let them understand that, yeah, this is your life and this is your journey. Accept it, embrace it, whatever it brings. Struggles, sorrows, illness. I've been a breast cancer thriver, not just survivor, for over 14 years. Okay. I embraced that. I embraced it so that while over 30% of women with breast cancer make their transition, they pass away. They experience death. I didn't,
Mhm.
because of my attitude to be grateful for every day. I'm also an avid runner for the last 45 plus years. During chemotherapy, I was running.
Mhm.
Okay. That's a blessing to me. That's yet another story. But my point is that my life was not all roses. I had plenty of those struggles and plenty of those challenges. And some people say, well, I don't understand. I don't understand. How did you ever do this? I go, I went within. I was forced to go within. And I got those signals and I got those signs that made me understand that my blessing is not only my life, but my blessing is that I'm dedicated to helping others identify from their authentic power from within, the guru who they are. We're all a guru. Start with start with self-love and self-care, and you're energized. You're energized, just like the Energizer Bunny. You're energizing. Okay. How can you possibly love or care for others if you don't love and care for yourself? And that's where it begins. So the journey is that capsulized version of just that, the journey that we happen to be on.
Wow. Well, Rhonda, I want to say congratulations for being, I call it a cancer conqueror that, that women go through. So you're a conqueror in my book. I know they say survivor, but I don't know. To me, that's just like,
like
no.
I'm a
It's
thriver.
yeah, to me, I look at conquer because like I did this, I'm bad. So you are bad in a good way. So congratulations for that and for sharing that with us too. Now, I know you said a lot of information that is wonderful, but before we end, I just want to ask you, is there any kind of specific last words that you want to leave the audience before we end, and then also how they can contact you?
Well, they won't be my last words because I keep saying them over and over.
I didn't mean like that though.
No. That's my little sense of humor coming out.
I just thought about that. I'm like, oh no, not last words.
The two things. First of all, what's happening with us in our external world, whatever our life, quote unquote, is, begins right here in our heart space. Very briefly, if we are operating from fear and doubt in here, it's going to produce thoughts of fear and doubt, which produce probably less than we'd like in our external world. If we are coming from a place of love and sincerity, and most especially gratitude from here, don't be afraid. That's what that book says. Don't be afraid. Different thoughts get produced. More thriving seeds are sown. Okay. And then we get to reap an even better harvest. This is harvest time. I love this time. The autumn, the fall, especially being from the East Coast, even though I'm not there right now. I love harvest time and the beauty of harvest time. Now is a time for us to harvest what is within us, depending upon the seeds that we've sown. And sometimes what we're harvesting, well, it's time for a new crop to come in. I'm also an avid gardener. So it's time for a new crop. It's time to weed the garden, to do some pruning and move forward from there. But it begins right here. So ask yourself, what have you been feeling and thinking? Those are the seeds you've been sowing. And would you like to sow some different seeds? And I mentioned it a second ago, but absolutely, I would leave with these words. Have an attitude of gratitude and watch your blessings multiply. Don't concentrate on what you don't have. Okay. Concentrate on what you have. Don't concentrate on what you can't do because of the pandemic. Concentrate on what you can do. That's gratitude. And your blessings will multiply infinitely. So that's what I'd leave with. You can get a hold of me by email, Rhonda, RHONDA, at helpmerhondanow.com. Rhonda at helpmerhondanow.com. I would love to hear your comments if you have any questions or otherwise. I offer a variety of free things. So, and I'm sure we'll get to that. I'll provide some links or otherwise. So if somebody wants to get to those free things, it would be my honor and my blessing to bless you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Rhonda, for allowing me to spotlight you and your business and then just what you bring to the table that help impact others, because you are impacting others, just to let you know. So thank you. And I know our listeners will get so much out of that. And we'll make sure that the links and everything to contact, that they can contact you, will be noted when we post your interview. Because I always tell the queens out there and the ladies and men, I know men watch the interviews too, I don't want to leave them out, that they need to really look at these queens, these experts that come on and talk about what they do, and reach out to them. They're here for you to help in any kind of way. I mean, you see so much that Rhonda has given today. So I just ask, I really stress to the community out there and to the audience that to really reach out to Rhonda. She is a total queen. Royalty. Remember, we got purple on royalty. So I truly wish you continued success, Rhonda, in your life and in your business. And to those that are listening, thank you for joining for another special edition of the Diamond Factor Spotlight interview. You can join the Facebook community under the Diamond Factor Experience. If you wish to be spotlighted just like this queen today, please contact me through Messenger, through the page. And remember, as I tell everybody, remember, and Rhonda gave us some good tips today, but remember that you have in you, as we kept saying, a diamond, as I call it. And I call that your PPD, your purpose, your passion, and your drive that drives you through life. So it's important to understand that in your own life, because guess what? That same PPD that you have in you will help others and impact others in their lives. And we all come together because we're a collection of beauty. And with that, thank you again, Rhonda, for having just to be just a breath of fresh air today and giving us some good tips for life.
A pleasure.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you so much.